There is a specific threshold in language learning where you are perfectly understood by native speakers, yet something feels slightly off. Your ideas are clear, but the phrasing creates a subtle friction in the listener's ear. We can hear this friction in a real conversation between an English teacher and an advanced learner. Listen carefully to exactly what Enrique says and try to spot the specific moments of friction. I was reading yesterday your Word document. I was listening the podcast, so I was curious. A native speaker's brain intuitively flags those yellow highlights. Even without knowing the grammatical terminology, the listener feels that the sentence structure has failed to meet a standard expectation. Reaching native-level fluency depends on recalibrating these ingrained structural habits to eliminate those specific points of friction. English is architecturally strict. While languages like Spanish allow time expressions to float comfortably in multiple places, English demands a rigid, predictable sequence. Look at this first error. I was reading yesterday your Word document. English follows a precise subject-verb-object formula. Placing a time expression like yesterday in the middle of that sequence breaks the direct link between the action and the object. These markers belong at the absolute end of the sentence. The second point of friction involves a deceptive inconsistency in English sensory verbs. You can hear a podcast directly, but the verb listen operates under a different set of rules. The verb listen cannot touch a noun directly. It requires a structural bridge, the word to connect the action to the object. English verbs and time markers demand these precise architectural supports. Omitting these invisible bridges creates the subtle distraction that native listeners experience. Structural errors are one hurdle, but false friends create a different challenge. These are words that sound identical across two languages, but serve entirely different functions. Enrique says, "So I was curious." While the Spanish root curioso describes a surprising event, the English equivalent implies the speaker wants to investigate or ask questions. To sound native, you must distinguish between the human state and the object's effect. A person is curious. An impressive or surprising event is interesting or fascinating. Test this logic yourself. Pause the video and look at this sentence. I was listening yesterday the Curious podcast. Apply the 3 rules we just established to fix it. Identifying and breaking these false linguistic habits is the only reliable way to move from mental translation to native thought. Now let's take that original audio and apply the 3 structural and semantic rules we've covered. I was reading your Word document yesterday. I was listening to the podcast, and I found it really interesting. By reorganizing the word order, adding a preposition, and swapping one false friend, the auditory friction disappears. The listener's experience is now seamless. Use this framework for your next conversation. Keep time expressions at the end. Bridge listen with to, and reserve curious for people. True fluency is built on precise structural alignment. The goal is to turn these conscious mechanical rules into unconscious instinct.